Now, shaking 194. If there is let's see, dust, let me see if I have it separately. There's dust in a garment. It's considered, if it is so dusty that one would not wear it during the weekdays unless they would shake it out or clean it. So shaking it out on Shabbos is a method of cleaning. So therefore, taking something that's dusty, you would not wear it during the weekdays that way. Shaking it out vigorously is cleaning. It cannot be done on Shabbos. If, however, it's something that you would wear during the week, so then you could shake it gently and wear it. You cannot use a brush. You cannot use a clothes brush or a hat brush to get rid of the dust. So let's say it would be a hat that's dusty, and how would I clean it? So if it's that dusty that I would not wear it, then I leave it. If it's slightly dusty, I could take a rag, a tissue, and then wipe it gently from the surface. Anything that is on the surface that's not so dusting and cleaning would be if it's something that's trapped into fibers. Just as we spoke about a garment that is wet, trying to clean it, it's something that's in the fibers. So therefore, if there's something that's on the surface, you could just wipe it off. So if there is, what would go on a jacket, what would be something that you would be concerned about that you would want to wipe off? People who have dandruff, so that would be on the surface. One could wipe off dandruff. Again, gently, not vigorously. The same would also apply to any fabric that has absorbed dirt in it. Taking only on the surface could you remove it. Something that's inside the fibers, you could not. That would include a carpet. So how do we clean a carpet on Shabbos? So using a carpet cleaner could not be done because the carpet cleaner, we're speaking about a manual carpet cleaner. How does a manual carpet cleaner work? It has many brushes that you push and it brushes up vigorously. That's why you use that during the weekdays. But for Shabbos, you could not use the carpet cleaner because it is vigorously taking out the dirt that's trapped beneath the fibers. However, taking off something that's on the surface, that again would be just like taking off from a garment. You could take off from the surface, again gently, not vigorously, to undust your carpet. If something is, 195, the bottom of the page, if something has a garment that has fibers and there is liquid that's absorbed inside the fibers, so then squeezing it out would be the Halacha of squeezing that we spoke about before, that you have the 3 steps that go into cleansing something, making it wet to loosen the dirt. Number 2 is scrubbing it vigorously. And number 3 would be to squeeze out the liquid. So a liquid that's absorbed in a fabric cannot be squeezed out. And shaking it vigorously would be the same as squeezing. So it's not only if you manually squeeze it, but taking it, shaking it very vigorously, that whatever is trapped inside comes out, that is squeezing. However, on the surface, that would be permissible. So now we have someone is in the rain and your coat that is a fabric, woolen coat or a fabric coat that became wet. So when you come indoors, what could we do with this wet coat? What do we do with it? So you can hang it up, not to put it out to dry, not to put it over a radiator where the radiator will heat up the water that's inside. That cannot be done. Not to put it near the stove where you'll dry it. Cannot be done that way. You cannot shake it vigorously. That would be like squeezing out the water, getting rid of the water that's inside, that's absorbed. So you cannot do that. Again, now what happens if it is of nylon or rubber, plastic? So that's not an issue because they do not absorb. It's not absorbed fibers. So then you could shake it as you wish. You could put it out to dry if you have a plastic raincoat, something that is not waterproof. You could put it out because since it did not absorb any liquid, you could put it out to dry. You could put it on a rack. You could put it on the chairs, spread it out, hang it up. So then you're not restricted what you're going to do with that. Now, what about you're coming in from the snow? So usually, if it's a garment that has snow on it, where did the snow go? Usually it'll be on the surface. So in that case, you could wipe off the snow. You could gently, or only that which is on the surface, that which did not become absorbed in the fibers. If it's a wet snow, that would be similar to a rain. So then your coat would become saturated. It would become wet. So then it's not just a surface situation, it is actually absorbed just like the rain. So in that case, we would not shake it out, but if it's a regular snow where it's only the surface, you could shake it gently and have the snow come off. If one is out in the rain, your clothes becomes soaked. So generally, we could not, a soaked garment could not be moved on Shabbos. So therefore, if you do have a big spill, you put a rag over it and it becomes saturated, so you have to leave it there. If it's a small spill and you have a rag, you could put the rag on it, and then you could take away the rag because it's not saturated, and by holding it, you're not squeezing out the garment. It's not like a sponge where actually whenever you touch it, the water is coming out, which a wet sponge cannot be moved. So if you do have a wet sponge in the sink, if you forgot to take it out before Shabbos, you leave it there over Shabbos. So if you have a small spill, you put the rag on it, and you could take the rag and put it away because it's not saturated that by holding it, it's going to release the water that's absorbed. So a small spill could put a rag on it, then remove it. A spill on the table, then a small spill. Also, we would recommend the paper towels. Put in a large amount that it should not become saturated. That while you're holding it, it's going to start dripping. So you put it on. If it is such a situation where it's going to drip, just leave it there. If it's you can just keep putting on towels until it becomes absorbed, and then you take that away and throw it away. Spoke about wiping your hands on a material which we would call a towel. So wiping your hands on the towel, that is fine, even though the towel becomes wet. That is permissible because it's being soiled, not cleaned. So you cannot make a garment wet in order to clean the garment, to release the dirt, but wiping your hands, in that case, you're not uh, cleaning the garment, you are actually soiling it after it's used for a longer time. You're going to put it in the laundry, so that would be permissible. The same as also you could wipe your dishes that you're going to be using for Shabbos, that would also be permissible. However, if it is in a very tight, a narrow vessel with liquid inside, you cannot dry it because it's water is going to be squeezed out as you take it out of the vessel. In other words, you have a bottle, let's say a baby bottle, and you put in towel inside. It is very, very wet inside. It's going to make the towel wet. While you're pulling it out, it's going to squeeze out the water from the towel. Okay. On page 199, gives us advice. Wiping your glasses. You can't use a wet cloth to use it for, but you could put water on the lens, then wipe it with a dry cloth or a tissue, because it's not that wet that would make it into an issue. So you would not use a wet item to wipe your glasses, but rather you put water on the glasses and then you wipe it with a tissue, napkin, whatever it may be. We're concerned about not to squeeze the water from the material that you're using. It's giving you advice that there is someone who is taking care of an infant, put something over there. Usually they hold the baby over the shoulder. The baby sometimes coughs up, makes your garment dirty. Then you get very concerned. What are you going to do? So in order to prevent it, it advises you to put something over your shoulder, put a towel or something that in case the baby does cough up, will be on the towel and not be concerned that you're going to come to clean it. Okay. In the wintertime, we walk into the house. Usually you have a mat to wipe your shoes or whatever. If you came in with your wet boots, the floor is wet, what could you do?
You just probably like lay paper towels.
Yes, okay. If it's a rag that you usually do not care about, you could put a rag down to begin with. The people will be stepping on the rag. That is fine. Even though because you're not come to clean it because it's a rag and that's what its purpose is. We spoke about leather. Pouring water on leather would be permissible as long as it does not, let's say if it has leather boots, you came in with mud, you could pour water on it, but you could not, if the boots have material, for instance, it's the stitching, that fiber stitchings that is connecting the boot to the bottom of the boot, so then that you cannot make wet. Now, let's what you could not do is not to rub vigorously. So let's now do that to leather couch. Leather couch is dirty. What could you do with it? So again, you could pour water and you could put a rag on top of it, but not to scrub it vigorously. because we said that scrubbing with a leather pliable material that also applies, even though making it wet does not apply, and squeezing it does not apply because it's not absorbed. However, rubbing it vigorously should not be done, and therefore you could put water on the couch and then wipe it gently. Let's see, is there anything here that we, any anything else that we might if your clothes became drenched in the rain, it's not a concern because you're wearing it. You're not going to squeeze it while you're walking in them, and therefore you are permitted to walk out into the rain. Let's see, anything else? Any questions on this malacha? So you know what to do when you're coming from the snow, from the rain. Okay, we're all ready. Now, next malach on page 201, that really is not something that one would encounter on Shabbos. That's the next step. We're going through the steps that it takes to make material and make the curtains. So number one is we had the shearing of the wool. We cut the wool. We spoke about that malacha, what applies to a person, anything that's on the surface of that's attached to a living thing. That was attached to a living thing cannot be removed. So that includes the hair, the nails, scabs, the loose skin. That would be that malacha. Then we have, next thing was after it was shorn, it would also whiten it, bleach it, to cleanse it. Next thing would be the wool is all tangled together. So then they would card it, which is to disentangling and combing out and aligning the wool in order to separate the strands. So this is in order, the next step was going to be to make it into threads. So this would be using the carding of wool or flax in order to spin them, make them into threads. And this would also include making threads out of the sinews of an animal in order to prepare them for making the threads for tefillin or Torah scrolls, which does not apply to us. The next malacha, after they have the wool now that is now clean and the fibers separated, they would then now color it, dye it, because the Torah tells us the different colors that were used for the material that was used to make the curtains. So dyeing is the next malacha. So when we had the malacha of cooking, that applied to dyeing, because they made it, starting from the first 11 malachas, they made it the dye into cakes of dye, and then when they were ready to use it, they would boil up the water, put the dye inside, and now the water would become colored. Then they would put the wool inside and stir the wool for the wool to absorb this color. So dyeing on Shabbos, D-Y-E-I-N-G, is forbidden. That is a part of the construction of the Mishkan. They dyed the wool threads of tcheles, the bluish, argamon, the reddish, the shani, the purple, and the red. These were the colors that were added. So adding color to a material with a permanent dye is the Torah prohibition. And the Tolada, which is also a Torah prohibition, is preparing the dye for use, and by mixing different colors in water to make the dye to begin with. So there's two steps. One is making the dye, which since it started off as a cake, you now want to color the water that you're going to be putting the material in. So making the water colored, that itself is a malacha. And then we have the actual putting the fibers and putting the material inside and coloring the material. So the Torah prohibition is something that is permanent. Rabbinic is something coloring with an agent that does not die permanently. And that would also include coloring one's body, including the eyes or lips or face. So that is forbidden on Shabbos. So that would be a rabbinic prohibition. So that would be the using, for instance, lipstick would not only be it would have two malachas that would be involved. Which two malachas? One would be rabbinic, and one would be and one would be a Torah prohibition. So which is the rabbinic? Would be the one that we're learning now. That would be coloring the lips that is not permanent. So that would be, but it is coloring. So then that would be rabbinic. As far as the lipstick is concerned, what would make it a Torah prohibition? Because we're taking a solid, which is the lipstick, and then we are smearing it, which has its own malacha for itself. So taking a solid and smearing is a malacha. That's a Torah prohibition. So that would also include, and we're going to cover the malacha as a subject for its own category, which would include all the different lotions and creams and semi-solid, different ointments, something like Vaseline. So that would be the smearing is a malacha for itself, and that also would include if they have the deodorants that are the bar deodorants. So that malacha would also include the same as lipstick, where you're smearing the surface. The same would also be with a bar deodorant would also go into that category. So speaking about that, so what is permissible on Shabbos as far as the deodorant is concerned? What is permissible? So you have the spray. So the spray could be used. And then there's also the liquid, the roll. So the roll is a liquid inside and it just it smears on the body, but it's not a solid, not semi-solid, it's just a liquid, which there is no prohibition on that. However, one should not use the deodorant as your perfume. So if it's there to take away body odor, its purpose is not to make it use it as perfume or not. So there's some of those, again, this is something that's subjective. And there are those sprays that are odorless, scentless. So there would not be no question about that at all. The spray that is scentless, it doesn't go into any category of any malacha, that would be permissible. The one that is with a scent, so then that would be something that is subjective. And there are two opinions about putting a scent on the body. So putting a scent on, just going off digressing a little, putting a scent on a material, that would be forbidden. However, on the body, there are two schools of halacha. There are those who say that since it's on the body, so it's not permanent, so that would be permissible. And then there are those who say that scenting the body would also be forbidden, and that is according to Chabad. It's Tzemach Tzedek, the third Lubavitcher Rebbe, says that putting a scent on the body directly would also be forbidden on Shabbos. You could scent the body before Shabbos, but not Shabbos itself not. So again, using perfume on Shabbos on the body directly, there are two opinions. And Tzemach Tzedek, the third Lubavitcher Rebbe, took the more strict opinion that it could not be done. The Alter Rebbe says so also in Shulchan Aruch.
Could you put it on your clothing?
Not before Shabbos, not on Shabbos. You can scent the clothing, that's for sure not. That's according to all opinions. But on the body, since it's temporary, there are two opinions. Therefore, the Alter Rebbe takes the more strict opinion, and in other circles they're more lenient about it. And if you do it before Shabbos, then there is no question at all. Abby, your question?
You answered my question.
Okay.
I have another question.
Yes.
How does Shabbos makeup work?
One should consult with their halachic authority whom they use about Shabbos makeup. Now, what? So now, So usually there is a base to it that would make it a problem. So those who, the Shabbos, again, one would have to consult with, because I tried to bring in this to my consulting rabbi, and he would not, he said it's not, he did not accept, he did not approve of the Shabbos makeup that I brought to him. Maybe there are other brands that he would approve of, but again, so one would have to consult with their halachic authority about the Shabbos makeup. Putting on let me just, so coloring the body goes into this category. However, what happens if you are using powder to absorb moisture? Again, you're not using the powder as your perfume, but you're using it to absorb moisture. So talc or any of those, so that would be permissible. You want the baby powder, that want to use the baby, you want to powder the baby, that would be fine. You want to powder yourself, again, if it's not there as your perfume, so that would also be fine. Yes?
Does Chabad as a whole vary when it comes to Shabbos makeup?
Again, it would be the
So
brand.
The Rebbe never said anything
Huh?
about it.
No, I'm saying it would be the brand. It's possibly there's a brand that would be permissible. That's what I'm saying. One would have to,
I'm saying the Rebbe never said anything against it, meaning we don't have any.
I don't think, I don't recall that the Rebbe should be saying anything about Shabbos makeup. But again, so it would be the brand that's being used, and according to what issues would be involved with that. So that would that's what. So we're covered again. I will inquire if there are different brands of Shabbos makeup. Is it only the one that is it only the one that I bought that did not get their approval? Is that there only one brand, or there are different ones made different ways?
What
I'd have
brand
to-
did you?
I don't recall. I just
Okay.
so I would have to investigate more. So when we come to it, I will try to give a more educated opinion about what I've discovered. Maybe share with you, what brands I use or whatever it may be. So I do try to investigate. Let's say what we spoke about, the shampoo. So you have dry shampoo. So then I did bring in to my halachic authority, and he said it's fine. So I did buy the brand, even though no one uses it. But I just bought it. I bought it. I brought it to the rabbi. We demonstrated to see what happens when you spray it, and it came out okay. So I try to get on hands information. Excuse me.
Any dry shampoo is fine or specific?
Oh, the one that does make your hair wet. It's not going to saturate your hair if it's dry. Then don't use it as perfume. Okay, so we'll cover the coloring. We'll cover that in our. We'll continue this. This will include some of the interesting things that are, let's say, wearing the sunglasses that change colors when you go indoors, outdoors. It's not called coloring. We'll speak about that. Putting on, let's say there is an antiseptic that is colored. You have the iodine or these things. Could that be used? Coloring the body? Yes, no? What do you think?
Yes.
Huh? You could use it because it's not your intention is not to color the body. It's to use an antiseptic that shouldn't become you shouldn't become infected. So that could be used. Again, it's a liquid iodine, providine. These colored different things that could be used. So we do have things that you could use the color. Again, as far as the glasses are concerned, so you could use those glasses on Shabbos going in and out. It's not coloring or making up. Okay. So